Good morning, Mr. Palmer. How are you, sir?
Doing good, Mr. Deegan. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. It's a little chilly here, but not too bad. I'm alive.
Well, look, it's December. I mean,
That's
unless
true.
unless you're in the tropics, I mean, in most
Mm.
people in the northern hemisphere, it's going to be chilly. Come on, man.
Well, that's the rub, right? You complain when it's too hot, and you complain when it's too cold. I think it's just the thing with the Northeast. We have to complain. I am a New Yorker now, so which pains me to say it, but
I can't argue that.
but
New
but in all
Yorkers
seriousness,
complain.
it's a well. So I'm from Philadelphia, so I'm not a New Yorker, but it's I said it, so it's whatever.
Oh, so
But so no,
look,
it's
saying you're from Philadelphia, making it better.
it's not
That
much
doesn't.
better. It's not
That's
much
not how
better.
that works. Didn't you guys throw snowballs at Santa Claus one year?
Santa started it.
Okay.
Oh man, off the rails, and we didn't even introduce the guest yet. So what do we have on the topics today, Jim?
Well, so
I had
speaking
to.
of speaking of football, okay.
Actually, that was a really good segue. We didn't even plan that. I got to give you
We
credit for
didn't
that one.
plan it. So no, we have to clarify this though. We were talking about American football. Um, and quite honestly, after hearing some arguments, I got to go with the Europeans on this one. American football is really mislabeled. What the rest of the world calls football is really football because they have a ball and they use their foot. And so American football, but in the odd segue, um, I've been watching a lot of American football recently, which is really odd because I hate the sport. I think it's just boring. But it brings us to a bigger question, right? This is a time of year, we have all these different sports venues and we have all these different things, and a topic that's kind of comes up every once in a while, especially around bigger events, is about large public venues and what the fans expect, how do different venues, how do different venue operators, how do all these different people, how do they provide a Wi-Fi service that is really expected by the fans. I've been to them. I'm a fan, and I would like to have better connectivity in these facilities. And so I thought what we would do today is we would talk a little bit about LPV. Now, to do that, we have a special guest, and that's why he's from Europe. That's why I had to actually classify and clarify about American football versus what the rest of the world calls football. So we have a guest. His name's Alfredo, and he is from one of our partners that does LPV and type of things like that. So, yay, Alfredo! Welcome to the podcast. Why don't you take a second to introduce yourself to the listeners, who you are and who you work for, and yeah, whatever
Will
you
do.
want.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Tom. Thank you for the intro. My name is Alfredo Garicoche. I am actually from Argentina, and I am based in London, Argentina, world football champions. We're based in London. I'm opening the office here for the last couple of months for FunXP. FunXP is a smart venue solution. We're working very strongly in Latin America. We're looking at expanding in Europe. And here I am talking to you guys in a cold, gray London day.
So I didn't realize you were from Argentina, but I mean, football in Argentina, isn't that like, I mean, I don't want to like get stoned or something, but isn't that up there with like the national religion?
It is, yes, it's everything. Football is everything. Not only for Argentina, for most countries in South America, it's a very important sport. So yes, we think we know a thing or two about it. But now I'm in London, and England was the inventor of football, right? So here we are.
I don't know. We won't get into that.
You call your football. The rest of the world, as you explained, calls soccer football. Let's not debate it. Let's go with the flow. I did live in the US. I lived in Michigan. I studied at the University of Michigan, and I used to go to the Ann Arbor Stadium for 110,000 people. So I'm familiar with both football.
Yeah, the big house.
the big
I
house.
think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest stadium in America. I think.
Not sure
We're
about
gonna
that,
fact
but it
check
was
that.
huge.
It's. I think it's the biggest in college football, at least. There used to be.
So I will
It
give
wouldn't
you.
surprise me.
I will give you that one. But
Okay.
as this is not a podcast about sports,
It is today, I think.
well, it could.
But go on.
It's a
go on.
podcast about how we do Wi-Fi for sports fans, at least today.
Well, if you've ever been to a Wi-Fi conference, you might think that Wi-Fi is a full contact sport based on the way some of us talk, but
yeah.
Anyway,
but all right, so we've been focused on two different sports, but I mean, honestly, LPV encompasses more than just American football and the rest of the world football. But they kind of have a couple of things in common. So you've worked with different venues and different customers and stuff. What makes these we'll call them sports arenas for this conversation. What makes sports arenas different from the other types of venues? Because I used to work at an airport, and that's sometimes called LPV. You have conference centers, which can be called LPV. But what makes sports arenas different than other type of LPV type of facilities?
Okay, so I think there are many categories of large public venues. You can go from hotels, resorts, hospitals, universities. The interesting thing about arenas is that I think the nature of the event, the emotionality of the event, people coming together to support a side or at the other side, that makes it very different. The passion that the fans pour into the event make it really personal, whereas the other venues are more places of operation where people either go to study or go to get cured or you go to do some other specific things. In sports, the architecture, the nature of the event, and the emotions generated by the sport make it all very different, I think.
That's it. I didn't think you were. I always learn something new on these podcasts, which is really, for this early in the morning for me, it's kind of sad.
What is it?
So, you mentioned a number of different facilities, right? And some of them I wouldn't have even thought were LPV, but I guess it makes sense. When you're thinking about a facility, and I know you don't own a facility and you don't operate a particular facility, but for the facilities that you've helped support, where does technology come into play other than just the obvious, I'm coming in and I'm logging onto Wi-Fi?
Yes. So I'll give you a little bit of context. We operate mostly in South America. South America is not as developed as the US. Europe is not developed as the US in terms of fan interaction and what happens in the stadium. Many of the stadiums in Europe or in South America are still brick and mortar and they don't have any kind of intelligence. We call them analog stadiums. Some people, some clubs have the money to rebuild them and start from zero, thinking on the fan experience at the forefront of what the development is. When those that don't have any money to rebuild a stadium, which could go between 500 million to over $1 billion to rebuild a stadium, they do want to modernize. That's when we come in. And if you think about Latin America, it shouldn't surprise you that many stadiums don't even have Wi-Fi. They have 4G, 3G, whatever the mobile solution is in the area. These solutions get saturated and they don't have any connectivity within the stadium. And the fan experience has evolved because basically, I don't know, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, what fans wanted to do was just log into social media, throw some pictures, go into their Instagram, relate with family and friends, show them where they were. That was it. Now, in a second stage evolution, I think there's been operational improvements where we've been looking at getting the venue to become a bit more interactive with the fan, supporting some operational functions as well as allowing customers to do more, fans to do more. So if I told you that 2 years ago in Europe they were still selling paper tickets for an event, you'd be surprised. But why not? How can they sell digital tickets or QR code tickets if they don't have Wi-Fi in the premises or nearby Wi-Fi for the fans that arrived to the stadium and forgot to download the ticket That's a basic one. And to get access to the venue, that's also a thing that is supported by Wi-Fi. And once you're inside the venue, there's a whole ecosystem that we, I think, specialize in providing for fans. Now we've evolved and we can order food and beverage from an application that we provide. We can also develop a native application for the club to put up all their information, to manage their memberships, to manage the rewards they give to the fans. So it builds from basics as relating to others in social media through then moving towards an operational solution, eventually selling them brands in a specific way, and ad serving in a very targeted way when they log onto the Wi-Fi network. And for this, you need Wi-Fi. You need Wi-Fi. Our partner is Ruckus, and we've been very successful in 3, 4, 5 stadiums in Latin America where we have partnered with Wi-Fi, with Ruckus Wi-Fi, to provide the functionality of the infrastructure. And on top of that, as I was saying, build all these software solutions.
It's interesting you said something, and it makes total sense, but until you said it, I never really thought about it that way. But it is true that I believe in the US, we probably spend a little more money on our sports venues than we probably should. And the rest of the world isn't as advanced as this. And so it kind of makes me think about something. You know, you were talking about like analog stadiums, which I think is a fantastic way of sort of explaining that digital divide of saying, hey, you know, we have a stadium that is, you know, more of a digital stadium, and we still have a lot of stadiums that are analog. So when we start talking about and we start thinking about like new releases of technology, whether it's Wi-Fi 7 or it's like cellular 5G or like CBRS or anything else like that, how do you guys advise your customers when they start saying, hey, we're going to make that jump from, we want to make the jump from an analog stadium to a digital stadium? How do you advise them on dealing with new technology? It's you know, how do you do that? Do you say, hey, we're going to jump straight into whatever the Wi-Fi 7 or CBRS or 5G? Or, I mean, I'm really curious to understand and learn from you. How do you advise your customers on the latest and greatest technology?
So for us, it's more difficult than moving from Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 7 or Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 7. It's moving from no Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi. And I see your point in the question. The main thing that we actually do when we partner up with a venue or a stadium, and it's not only football that we do, FunXP does tennis, does other sports. We do also music shows and venues that manage large publics that go to different events. But focusing on football, as your question goes, clubs are very worried about spending money in something that they are not familiar with. So you can imagine that when you come over and you tell them that they've got to spend $500,000, $1 million, 1.5 million on developing a Wi-Fi network for them to then be able to sell more to the fan, give the fan an interesting experience or a more engaging experience, and to keep them happy and keep that fan returning and bringing friends and spending more time in the venue, which is also the new norm. Venue owners want to spend some money to get public to stay within the venue, spending more money within the venue. We become their partners. We become a consultant at the beginning and then a solution provider in the end, because we do a survey of what they have. We come up with some ideas. We discuss these ideas with them and then come up with a solution that will help them engage more with the fans. In their mind, they want to become football champions, league champions, or keep the game on, keep paying the footballers, keep paying the coach a decent salary. And when you tell them that they should spend money on improving the fan experience, they think, but what do you mean? Because the fan comes in, watches the game, and is happy that the team won or unhappy that the team lost. And then you start talking about driving some of the spend that happens on the high street towards the venue itself. So you open up the venue a bit earlier, you engage with some fun experiences that customers go in, fans go in and engage with. They drink a beer or two before the game. They stay in a secluded area having fun where they feel safe. It's the ambience is really related to the sport itself, and that makes it better for them to spend their money there. Then in the meantime, in the halftime, with our software solutions, we allow them to purchase online, pay online, and transform the shop that expends food and beverage into a pickup point. You don't have to leave early. You don't have to leave your seat early before halftime ends to go and buy your beer and come back when the second half has started already, because you buy ahead, you pay ahead, and all you do is you go and pick up. This makes you have a more efficient experience in terms of sports watching. And then when the game finishes, we also sell you merchandise. You go and pick it up, you enjoy it. We even bring it to your seat. We do lots of things, and we have statistics to prove that this increases revenue, increases the top line and the bottom line, decreases costs because you have more efficiencies. And to those people that are managing the different restaurants within the venue, it gives them real-time information in terms of what they're selling, how they're selling it. They can make promos to promote different things. Over 50% of the people that we have in our base are logging into our Wi-Fi solutions and using this and recommending our software. So this becomes a 360 experience, which is something that we're really proud of showing. And on top of this, the main thing that we're proud of is becoming not only the one-stop shop with a scalable proposal, but a cost-neutral solution. This means that we create real estate that is digital real estate for sponsorship. And this sponsorship is something that the stadiums don't really have right now. So they can make money bringing more digital sponsors to help them pay for the solution, making our solution, as I was saying earlier, cost neutral.
Nice. So it sounds like there's a lot going on, and it's. I mean, I haven't been to a stadium in a while, so I know there's a lot of that's changed. You know, like you said, you can buy it, they'll bring it to you and stuff like that. But the back end, as you mentioned, you use Ruckus Wi-Fi. That's changing a lot right now, right? Like we've got Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 7. We just announced the R770, and I'm curious because you've got a large public venue that you're dealing with. I've seen both sides. I've talked to in my day-to-day. I've had a couple arena projects come across my desk where they were like Wi-Fi 6, or like we're looking at Wi-Fi 6E and 7 because they wanted the stadium to be like the cutting edge. So I guess, how often do you see, in general, the venues looking to maintain the latest technology? And in that vein or train of thought, are you getting a lot of interest for the Wi-Fi 7 product now that it's been announced for some of your customers? I'm curious to see what the view is.
So for us, it is interesting that Wi-Fi keeps evolving, and it's something that is very, very needed. Customers or venues don't come to us with specific needs in terms of Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 7 or Wi-Fi 5. What they want is a solution that, as I told you, the fan experience is ever evolving. We're moving towards more harnessing data and analytics, increasing fan loyalty. And fans are trying to immerse themselves into more, or we are trying to immerse the fans into a more vivid augmented reality, virtual reality experience. That's early stages. But for all of this, we need more bandwidth and more capacity. We've seen in our venues that we've moved from a bandwidth of 20 meg to over 120 meg in the past 2-3 years. That's demanding more robust hardware and better connectivity. Traffic has increased. It's almost quadrupled in the last 2 years as well. And besides more speed, which is always good, we want to work ever increasingly with betting companies. And for this, not only capacity, but reduced latency that Wi-Fi 7 brings is very important. Imagine people trying to place a bet, or many people trying to place a bet all at the same time. This needs to work and work fast and work reliably. Sport betting is one of the killer applications around the world, in the world of sports, and it's going to hit us all hard. The ability to have everyone online at the same time is important. To do it fast is important. But we're also moving towards augmented reality, as I was saying earlier, showing real-time stats, maybe streaming the game itself. Who knows? Some deals will have to take place in terms of rights ownership. But what if we could stream the game or replay the goals? When you go to a football match, there's a goal. You don't see it. You see it. If you weren't looking, you've missed it. And usually there's no replay. So what if we could stream those replays into the mobile? That has to be done quickly, reliably, and fast. So all these benefits from the implementation of Wi-Fi 7, and that's something that we're certainly looking forward to.
You know, I'm a baseball fan, and there's a couple of things, and it's funny the things you've said. I'm like, man, I would really wish I'd had that at my local MLB stadium, with, you know, paying for my beer before I get to the beer stand, so that I don't have to stand there in line while somebody tries to figure out how do I use my credit card. That would be fantastic. And then, you know, then when I miss the, you know, that one play, having it like replayed, that would be pretty cool. But so now I have some petition things to take to my local stadium and be like, hey, you guys need to be doing this. But yeah, I have a question that, you know, it ties back to a podcast episode that John and I just recorded. And I'm curious, you know, we talked Wi-Fi 7 and hardware, but John kind of touched on a little bit with the back end. What I'm most curious about is, what are you seeing from your guys' perspective about what types of controllers are you seeing? A lot of customers, you know, going to the cloud and using like a Ruckus One as their control platform, or I mean, how does that look in, especially, I mean, John and I have our own views, but it's very US centric and very us centric. I'm curious, what do these venues are they embracing the cloud, and are they using Ruckus One, or are they still sort of saying, hey, we're going to do something like a smart zone? Or, I mean, what are those types of customers? What are you seeing them move to these days?
I don't have specifics around that question in terms of technical solutions that the stadiums are using. They come with a solution that we provide, and they don't have any kind of specific request. What we see is that in most cases, the clubs don't have a clue of where to begin with these solutions. And that's where a proposal comes in very handy. And as we partner with Ruckus, we do provide a whole suite of solutions that is clearly within the product line. What we try to clearly do is it's a bit of an education process for us. The fan knows what to do with their mobile phone when they get in. They have the Wi-Fi network. They know what they want to do, where they want to go, surf, not surf, go to their social media. We do promote all through QR codes around the venues and the screens and everything, how to purchase food and beverage, etc., and merchandise. But the clubs do not really know how things work. And I would say they're less interested in how things work and more interested in providing a good fan experience and enabling the traffic for them to use the data, enabling the real estate for them to position new digital partners, and making some money. So specifics around their solutions, we obviously partner up with Ruckus Solutions, and we take it from there.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess, forgot where I was going with this one, but it's, well, no, it's just, I'm still honestly, don't
You're
laugh at
focused
me.
on the beer.
Well, okay. So yeah, even though it is still very morning where I am, I am kind of focused. Hey, it's like it's almost 5 o'clock where Alfredo's at, so maybe he can drink a beer for me. No,
I'll drink to
that. No, I'm still sort of, again, and this just shows my brash Americanness shining through, about the idea that there's still venues that are very much analog. I'm still I keep going. That was one of the first things I wrote in big letters on my notepad, was analog stadiums. I was like, wow. Because I remember growing up, it would be like you'd have a stadium and it had been around for, 60, 70 years. And nowadays I'm seeing, like, in America, there are stadiums where they're like, oh, it's 20 years old, we have to build a new one. And I'm like, you haven't even paid off the loan from the one you're in right now, and you want to build another one. And so I'm still stuck on this whole idea that, the rest of the world isn't like that. And it's hurting my American ego a little bit.
Well, I mean, you look at a couple. I mean, I've been around some of the stadiums in Europe, and not even big stadiums, like some of the smaller club stadiums, and they don't have the money to build the stadiums, and some of them don't have the space, right? And it's the same thing for our American listeners. If you're a baseball fanatic like Jim, you look at stadiums like Wrigley and Fenway. It's not even that it's not even a money perspective, right? The stadiums are landmarks. They're 100 years old. you don't want to tear it down just to build some shiny cookie cutter thing. You want to keep it. And I mean, they both of those in this case, I mean, their amenities are, but they spend a lot of money to update it as much as they can. And they still have like, I know Fenway's got like small seats and stuff like that, but it's pretty cool to hear just in general how the stadium experience is evolving. I honestly haven't gone to many games recently. I've heard about it. I've seen people talk about it, but it's like a whole different world. Like I'm used to just going to some stadium, sitting down, watching the game, and it's like it's a whole different experience. So, and it sounds like Alfredo, with you moving to London to get the office started, it sounds like you guys are busy and going to keep busy, and we like to see that, and we look forward to seeing what you can do with the Ruckus gear and keeping those customers happy and coming back for more.
Yes, thank you. I us too. We wish for the same. Let me just say a couple more things. So stadiums and arenas are becoming a destination themselves. And what we, from Fan Experience, what we try Fan XP, what we try to do is show the owners of the venues that they can maintain the nature of the stadium, but at the same time they can provide a better experience. So how do you improve the return on investment? So today, if you just have an analog stadium and you bring people in and they buy the tickets, usually they buy season tickets and that's it. That's the revenue for the stadium. But then if you can show them that the markup on beer costs half a dollar and they can sell it for $8 or $10, right? And they can have more people drinking and more people eating, and the markup and the margin justify the development, the technological development for them to do this online. And that the older generations are more traditional and the newer generations are coming along and are expecting a different experience. And that the Fan Experience does not either begin or end at the venue. The Fan Experience starts a couple of days earlier and might finish during the midweek of the game, of the post-match. So you can engage with brands before the game, during the game, and after the game, and benefits for the fans, keep them coming back, keep them happy, keep them purchasing more. I'll tell you what, some statistics from our solutions show that obviously 3/4 of the people that go to a stadium hate queuing. Who doesn't hate queuing? Especially if you're going to miss either the end of the first half or the beginning of the second half. 45% of the people leave the line without consuming. Yes? 60% of people would spend more if they had more time to choose. And almost 70% prefer an app to avoid queues and pickups. So what we're showing the stadiums is you can increase your profitability by 50%, 60% implementing our solution. On top of this, you can bring new digital sponsors that will help you pay for the development. At the same time, one of the things that we do is we provide a financial package. So we pay for the installation of the solution, and then we charge the clubs the full amount with a little bit of an interest rate, but we spread the cost for the clubs in a period of 3 to 4 years. This makes it affordable to them. And let me tell you that in the first 6 to 12 months, they start seeing the benefits of working with us. And then word of mouth starts spreading out because they are members of a league. And when a club joins and brings Wi-Fi and brings software and gets a fan happier, and the improvement is clearly shown in terms of money and in terms of advocacy and loyalty from the fans, it starts to make sense, and that's where we start to scale up.
Very cool. So we're actually out of time. Thanks for joining us. Is there an email address or a website or a way that our listeners could get a hold of you guys? We do have listeners. I checked the stats. We have some listeners in South America. We have some listeners in Europe. So if there's anybody that is looking to get a hold of you guys, do you have like a website or like a generic email address or something that we could put in our show notes and everything, and people can get a hold of you guys? Definitely,
yes. We do have our website is efan.zone. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, my email is alfredo@efan.zone. Happy to pick up from here with anyone that's interested in following up with Fan XP. We're very excited to be in this relationship with Ruckus. We think it's very successful, and we want to build even more here in Europe.
Well, cool. I think that does it for us. Alfredo, again, I wanted to thank you for taking the time. I know it's a little bit later in your day, but I appreciate it. I know it's got to be busy in London. You're setting up the new office, and it sounds like you've got a lot going on. So we do appreciate the time. And if there's nothing else, Mr. Palmer, I'll hit the closeout music, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode.
I'm good, John. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
If you want to contact the show directly, you can email us using the address ruccast@comscope.com. To learn more about Ruckus products and services that we may have talked about on this or any other podcast, please check the links in the About section of the show.